everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Melissa and I'm a nursing student. Okay, so today's video is going to be quick. It's gonna have to be because I am filming this before work in the morning and I literally have to be out of the door in like another 10 to 15 minutes. So today's video is very informal. It is a coffee and chat. This is actually tea that I'm drinking with honey because I am sick. I'm getting sick. I woke up with a scratchy throat yesterday. Today I woke up with a sore throat and now my voice keeps going in and out. And so I wanted to film this video before, I don't know how sick I'm going to get, but I wanted to film this video in case I end up completely losing my voice. And I didn't want to go like another month or two or whatever without filming. So I'm gonna try to make this video quick. Hopefully my voice does not go out by the end of it. So somebody commented on one of my videos. I've gotten a couple of comments asking me this question, and it's basically, why did I decide to go back to school for nursing, or why did I decide to get my nursing degree after getting a master's in healthcare administration? So if you've not seen my previous videos, then you may not know. I'm currently a nursing student. So I'm getting my bachelor's degree in nursing. I graduate in like 8 or 9 months, so I'm a senior. But I already have 2 previous degrees. So I have a bachelor's degree in communications and I minored in marketing. So I have a bachelor's degree in communications and marketing. I have a master's degree in healthcare administration, or an MHA for short. And right now so my 3rd degree that I'm going to get is going to be a bachelor's in nursing. And so there are a few different reasons why I decided to go back to school to get a nursing degree, even though I already have a master's degree. Probably the most important reason that I decided to go back to school for nursing after having a master's in healthcare was that I've always wanted to be clinical. Even when I was getting my first degree, when I first entered college, I was 17, I was really young, but I declared my major initially as kinesiology. And if you're not familiar with kinesiology, it's basically the study of the human body and how the body moves. That's a very simplified way of describing it, but how the body moves. And that was my first major in college. Kinesiology is a very difficult major. It requires a lot of studying, you're taking heavy sciences, and I just wasn't in that headspace. I was 17, 18, I was worried. I was really immature when it came to studying. Like I was skipping classes. I was more concerned with hanging out with my friends. I was obsessed with boys, and I just was not putting in the time that I needed to make good grades. So, eventually I ended up changing my major just because I wasn't making the grades to keep up with my kinesiology major. And what I was going to do with the kinesiology degree was I was going to go on to physical therapy school. I wanted to become a physical therapist at the time, just because I always knew I wanted to do something in healthcare where I was hands-on, working with patients, and I was clinical. But in addition to not doing well in my major, PT school, physical therapy school, is really, really, really competitive, and I just wasn't making the grades. So eventually I ended up switching my majors to communications and marketing because I was I was a junior at the time. My graduation date kept getting pushed back because I was going to have to retake classes and do all these things. So I had to make a really difficult decision where I was feeling guilty. I didn't want to spend 6 years in college on my parents' dime. I just wanted to get out of there in 4 years. So I switched my major and I went down a different path. But my heart was always to be a clinician and to be clinical working with patients. It just kind of didn't work out that way, but that's just what I've always wanted to do. And then after undergrad, when I was in my early 20s, I thought about going back to school for nursing then. So like literally right after I graduated, I entered the working world. Like 8 months to a year after I started working, I was going through a lot of things in my personal life also, and I was really depressed and I was reevaluating my life, and I was like, you know what? I should have really tried harder in undergrad. Maybe I should go back to school and get a nursing degree and become a nurse. I want to help people. I want to be hands-on with patients. Maybe physical therapy wasn't for me, but I was in the right realm. And so I did research. I was calling schools in my area, seeing what programs I could enter for nursing. And I just remember people just being so nasty to me. Like I would call admissions of different schools. I would speak to advisors and they were just kind of like, oh, your GPA was low. we require a higher GPA, hang up. Or, oh, you know, your GPA was low, we can't take you, sorry. Like, no one was willing to work with me. No one was like, hey, you know, you can go to community college and retake classes. Like, they were just really, I don't think I spoke to a single kind person. And so I was in my early 20s and I was just kind of like, well, shit, like I ruined, you know, I was in undergrad, I messed up. And so there's no way that I can kind of go back and be a nurse. Like, it's done. And so I was like, okay, well, what else can I do in healthcare that I can actually still go into? And so I decided to get my master's in healthcare administration, just because healthcare is really my passion, more so than nursing. Overall, healthcare is my passion. And I already had a communications and marketing degree, so I qualified for an MHA program. And that was just the route that I ended up taking, and that's where life took me. But my heart was always with being a clinician and being hands-on, and essentially my heart was always with being a nurse. So now I'm just kind of like, okay, you know what, I'm not too old, my grades weren't too bad, I can go back to school and increase my GPA, and I've really fought just to go back to nursing school. But I think the most important reason why I decided to go back after already having a master's in healthcare administration was just because that's what I've always wanted to do. Okay, so now reason number 2 is also very important, and that reason is freedom and financial stability. So I'll explain that. So an MHA, Master's in Healthcare Administration, in my opinion, it's essentially a business degree. It's a business degree that has a focus in healthcare organizations or in healthcare administration rather than just general businesses. And when it comes to master's degrees, so of everybody that has their master's degree in the United States, I feel like having a business degree is kind of a dime a dozen. Like, it's a very common master's degree to have. And so in that sense, it is oversaturated in a lot of ways. And yeah, having an MHA, in my opinion, does put you a step above or a couple steps above everybody else that just has a regular business degree, because an MHA is focused in healthcare. So that, of course, will naturally give you a leg up. But even with that, to me, it just felt like, because having a business degree is kind of a dime a dozen, it just felt like I was always expendable and replaceable, versus with nursing, at least at the bedside, there's a nationwide shortage of nurses. So like, bedside nurses have the upper hand of like negotiating their pay, negotiating sign-on bonuses. So in some cases, it depends on the facility, negotiating their hours, banding together and demanding better staffing ratios. Like, nurses really do have the upper hand at the bedside right now. And that's why you see a lot of nurses advocating for themselves, as they should. But when it comes to having an MHA, because it's kind of a dime a dozen, in my opinion, the healthcare administration field can be very, very cutthroat. Like, very cutthroat. And so for me, because the world of healthcare administration was so cutthroat, or it is so cutthroat, I found myself in positions where I was kind of like having to kiss ass all the time. And I was having to play into office politics, and I was having to go to things and do things that I didn't want to do just for the sake of feeling like I had to keep my job. And that is not my personality. I'm very much, I want to go to work, I want to do my work, and I want to go home. If there's like a charity event or something like that that I feel compelled to go to, I'll be happy to go. But, you know, I found myself in a position with a former employer where he was my former employer, he was my mentor, he was very inappropriate. And he would always pull me aside and be like, oh, we're going to happy hour after work, you should come. And I didn't want to go. I wanted to go home. I wanted to spend time with my husband. I wanted to spend time with my family. I wanted to relax. I'm in nursing school. So I wanted to go do my homework. I wanted to go live my life. I just gave my employer 8 to 10 hours of my life. I don't want to then be forced to go out to drinks with you. And he would always pull me aside, and he was my mentor at the time. And he was just like, you know, if you want to get ahead, these are the things you have to do. You have to go out with people. You have to go to happy hour. You have to do this. You have to do that. And I would look at the people, because I was in leadership, I was in administration. I would look at the people in nursing administration, like the actual nurses, and they were going home after work because their jobs were not dependent on who liked them and who didn't like them. Their job, I mean, to an extent, like I said, nursing also has its own office politics, but it wasn't like my employer could just fire a nurse on a whim or fire someone in nursing administration on a whim and then replace them with his cousin. because he had to find somebody that met that criteria. And since nursing is a specialized field where you need a license, it's not as easy to do that. So I don't know, I was just kind of always looking at nursing jealous, and I was like, you guys get to go home with your family and I have to be stuck kissing people's asses, like kissing the asses of these men who would rather sit at a bar after working 8 to 10 hours a day, sit at a bar talking crap about their wives, talking crap about their kids that they don't like because they don't want to go home. And I was like, I actually like my home life. Like I want to go home. I don't want to be putting up with any of this. And so, you know, shout out to my old employer, because he was a big driving force of me deciding that I did not want to do that, and I wanted to get a license and just have more freedom. I didn't want to have to feel like my job was dependent on who liked me and who didn't, whose butt I was kissing and whose butt I wasn't kissing. You know, shout out to him. So the third reason that I decided to get my BSN after my MHA was, and this reason's actually really important because I don't think I would have this was probably the deciding factor for me going back to school to become a nurse. Once I have my nursing degree, it'll make my MHA so much stronger. So of course, you do not need to be a nurse to get a master's in healthcare administration. I was not a nurse, and I'm not a nurse. I know a lot of people who are obviously in healthcare administration that are not nurses, and they are very successful and they're very happy. But when you are a nurse, once you get your BSN, if you want to continue your education, if you don't want to be clinical, getting an MHA is actually a really good alternative to going the DNP, the doctor nursing practice route, or becoming a nurse practitioner, or getting your master's in nursing, your MSN. A good route, if you don't want to do any of those things, is to get a degree in healthcare administration. And so I knew once I finished my nursing degree that my master's degree would pair it really, really well, and it would just be a strong pairing. And so to be completely honest, if I had a master's degree in something completely unrelated that had nothing to do with healthcare, I'm not 100% sure if I would have taken the leap to go back to school and get a degree in nursing, just because I didn't know if it would really be justifiable. But because I already had a master's in healthcare administration, to me that justified going back to school and getting a nursing degree to make my master's degree stronger. So I really do love healthcare administration. So when I look in the future, like, yes, I do want to work at the bedside, I do want to go into a specialty, but looking ahead, I do eventually want to come back to administration. And so, you know, when I look to the future, I feel like a lot of my classmates are like, oh, maybe I'll become a nurse practitioner, maybe I'll become a nurse anesthetist. None of those things, you know, really spark my interest. But in the future, I look at it and I'm like, I would love to teach. Like, I love education, I love teaching. I would love to be a nurse educator, I'd love to be a professor. I would love to be a director of nursing. I'd love to be a chief nursing officer. So all of the things that I would kind of want to do later on in my career were going to be administrative anyway. And so I was like, I would love to go into not just regular healthcare administration or not just business administration, but specifically nursing administration. And so once I get my nursing degree, since I already have my master's in healthcare, I don't need to do any more schooling to do the things that I would want to do anyway. So for me, it just made a lot of sense. And then the final reason is nothing profound, but it's honestly just the flexibility of the nursing schedule. So first off, let me get into this. With nursing, when it comes to the schedule, if you choose to work at the bedside, you can do pretty much any specialty that you could get into, of course. You can work in the ICU, you can work in the ER, which is really fast paced. You can decide to go work in a doctor's office, which is slower paced. You can work in a clinic, you can work at a school. That is one thing. You have the flexibility of changing specialties whenever you want to, changing settings whenever you want to. When it comes to the actual scheduling of nursing, if you're at the bedside, you could be working 3 days a week and working full time. Yes, they are 12-hour shifts, but it's still just 3 days a week instead of the traditional 5 days a week. You can work weekends primarily if that is what you want to do. You can work night shift primarily if that's what you want to do. You can go part-time You can go PRN as needed and just pick up shifts as you need them. Like, I don't know any other career that has the same level of flexibility as nurses do. And then bedside aside, if you get tired at the bedside, if you have an injury, if your back starts hurting, your feet starts hurting, you can go sit behind someone's desk and do nursing administration. You can do telehealth. Like, there's so much you can do in nursing, and the flexibility of that really appealed to me. Okay, so my camera died because I talk a lot, but I sort of got finishing up the video. So I think, okay, so I was talking about the flexibility of nursing. All that was to say, nursing is very flexible, and right now it's just me and my husband and our dog and our rabbit, but we do want to have kids in the future. And so for me, like, having the option of possibly primarily working weekends while we have small kids was really appealing to me. Or, you know, primarily working nights so I can be there during the day with the kids was really appealing to me. And like, having a family is important to me. Once I have a family, I do want to be in a position where when I need to spend more time at home and I need to prioritize that, I at least have the option of doing that. Because I feel like a lot of women just don't. A lot of people just don't, just because that's not the way that our society is built and not the way that our working world is built. And so the potential flexibility of that really does appeal to me. And so that was also a deciding factor of me going back to school for nursing, and especially me going back to school when I did. I was like, I want to go back to school, finish my degree, and start working as a nurse before I start having a family. That way, once I start having a family, I will already have that flexibility. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you guys so much for watching. It's a hot mess. I feel like my voice is going in and out. My camera died. I'm using my phone now, so I have no idea how awful the video and sound quality is going to be. But if you stuck it out to the end of this video, thank you guys so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not yet subscribed to my channel. And a big thank you to everyone who's recently subscribed, to everyone who's recently shown me support. I've actually met people that watch my videos out in the real world. I always meet people like on campus at school, but I've now started meeting people like not at school. So if you ever see me and you want to say hi, I swear I'm really friendly. I'm not always wearing makeup. And sometimes I'm just kind of tired and look disheveled, but I swear I'm a nice person in person. So if you ever see me and you want to say hi, don't hesitate. Thank you guys for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one.